Have you tapped into AI? If not, like what's really going on? Is it all about prompts? Is it going to take over our jobs? And why does it make my boobs tingle? All of that will be answered and more on this episode of Young Black Misses. I'm your host, Morgane F., and I am chatting with my girl, Whitney B., an AI guru, to explain it all. So let's get into it. Shaking my curl. I'm shaking my curl. I'm shaking my curl. Shaking my curl. I'm shaking my curl. I'm shaking my curl. I'm shaking my curl. Shaking my curls. Now, this was probably not the best choice for my people that are watching me on YouTube, because now I gotta, fix her. Shaking my curls. Okay, I am probably gonna do a celebratory shake and I don't know if this is like 30 something or if it's just, you not gonna talk to me in any type of way. But I'm really being more vocal in general. I'm really like, hey, yo, no. But also, I'm realizing that the people I interface with, I don't know what they're carrying. So I guess my shake is, it's very tough right now. It is a very tough time for people. There's so many things going on in our world, so many things that could lift you up, and there's so many things that can devastate you. I just went to a concert, Brandy and Monica concert, and it was absolutely amazing to be in community with it was mostly Black women. There's probably some guys there, but it was mostly Black women. People of different ethnicities as well, but it was mostly Black women there. And so just being in community with all those people of different ages reminded me how important it is to just be in that buzzword community. And that's cool. But also when you get in that community, be kind, because you don't know what they're carrying. So somebody's talking to me crazy. I am working on not being quick to snap, but thinking, I wonder what they're carrying right now. I wonder what that's kind of out of behavior. What's going on? And then just removing myself, like, okay, yeah, they might be a little perturbed at me, but it's not that deep. And I'm not going to get myself all worked up. I don't think I'm nice. I think I'm kind. And that's when it goes into, I can see it from your point of view, but I'm also going to say, hey, are you good? Because XYZ, I'm just checking on you to let you know, don't talk to me crazy. So I guess my celebratory shake, or my shaking my curls, is we really should focus on being kind and offering people a little drop of grace, thinking, what could they be carrying right now? And I'm not even saying, how can I take the load off of them? No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, what could they be carrying? And let me not make it all about myself and me being mad. Well, why she do this? Why she say that to me? Being like, well, I don't know what she's going through right now. So let me just ask. I don't know what he's going through right now. So let me just ask. And maybe if they're genuine with us and they tell us, perfect. If not, brush it off, because, and this might be 35 and being a mom, it's just not that deep, bro. It's just really not that deep for me. It's just not. Hello and welcome to the main event. I've got a special guest with me. Whitney, say hello.
Hello.
What's up, girl? It's been a long time. You ain't here on my podcast.
I love it. Yeah, it has definitely been it's been a long time since I've seen your face, actually. Like we've talked
Bro, on the phone, but no, we don't FaceTime. I know we should FaceTime. That's
we
terrible.
probably do that more
Um,
because life changes
yeah,
so quickly.
yeah. And then when we was in college, it was Skype.
Oh
Now we
yeah,
doing this on
put me
Zoom.
on
You know
to
what I mean?
that. You put me on the Skype actually. I remember that.
For real. You
Yeah,
wasn't because I was Skyping my parents, I think.
you were really advanced with technology then.
Y'all see that slight shake. Then, okay. Anyways, okay. Well, Whitney and I go back from college at Wilberforce days, and we're in the same major, and that's how we met. And it's my girl. But Whitney, I want to chat with you, of course, about being an AI expert, AI guru. So just give my listeners a little bit of info about who you are and your relationship with AI.
Wonderful. Well, thank you first and foremost for allowing me to be on the podcast. Just a little bit about me. I am a born and raised Ohio girl, been in Ohio my entire life, from Columbus to Cincinnati to Dayton, where I currently live. I've always been in the Midwest. And for me, growing up, I only thought there were two opportunities to me. I either wanted to be a journalist or a teacher. And I've been fortunate enough to experience both. So I've worked in journalism, I've worked as a college professor, and ultimately, somehow I got into the nonprofit world. I think it was right after when I worked in TV, I realized that I love storytelling, but I hated the hours and I didn't like the climate of it. So I went into nonprofit. And shortly after going into nonprofit, I had this genius idea to start a business. For me as a woman, I felt like I got as far as I could get in that particular role, and there was really nothing else left for me. So I decided to start my
Mm,
own business. And starting my own business, I've been doing that since the tail end of 2015, going into 2016. So I've had some different career changes throughout the journey, but primarily in my business, I focused in marketing and communications, working with a lot of small business owners, a lot of organizations, and really helping people find their footing in how they show up online. I think visibility is one of the most fundamental things that you can do to grow a business. And a lot of people are so great at what they do, but they're not great at showing up and sharing what they do with other people. So that's really where I have that expertise. So fast forward in 2019, I remember running my company, and I had more business than I could physically do for myself. And so I'm looking for all these different tools. I'm trying to figure out, like, are there other solutions that could help me? Because I was a one woman show. And I came across this tool called Copy AI. And, I'm just like, okay, Copy AI. Now we have all these internet extensions. I'm not thinking artificial intelligence. I'm like, oh, this is a tool. And essentially, I was able to put things into this tool, and it would help me create different captions. So that really helped me inside of my business. And so as I'm using Copy AI, I started to grow more and more familiar with it over time. And so by the time Chat GPT came, I'm like, oh, this is nothing. I've been already doing this, because the interfaces were very similar. And as a result, I realized that small businesses needed AI. So at the time, I was working as a director of a business incubator, and I particularly work with Black owned businesses. And I saw in my work with working with Black owned businesses that many were left behind. They didn't either have the capacity, they didn't have the technology, many didn't have the education that they needed to truly grow and become a scalable business. And so, knowing what I knew about AI for my business, I knew that it could become a great equalizer. So, someone asked me and said, hey, can you share a workshop with the Urban League? So, I did a workshop for the Urban League of Southwest Ohio and the Dayton region. And that's where everything took off. People had started to reach out to me. They saw that I taught this workshop, and then the demand just grew over time.
mm,
And lucky for me, AI was already something that I practiced within my business. So there was so much that I already had to give. It wasn't theoretical for me. I was already using it in real life. And so that's really where I got here. Now, when it comes to how I teach AI is, for me, is built from the inside. So I teach a framework that shows people that you have to ultimately get to know yourself before you touch the tools. The tools are so tempting to be, because they're convenient. The tools,
mhm.
they make you feel lazy. Sometimes the tools can keep you in a constant state of overthinking, because it's going to keep giving you ideas, right? There's not really that human filter to say, all right, when do you draw the line and actually start executing on specific things? And so my role with AI right now is not just to teach people the tools, but to teach them how to align with the strategy that makes sense for them as a person. So when they're working with tools, the tools are not leading them, but they are ultimately the person that is guiding and using the tools as a cherry on top versus it being the whole recipe.
Gotcha. I think that approach, a couple of things have popped up when you said, but I think that approach is kind of, not kind of, I think what people that are going to be hiring with that skill set want, because there still needs to be a human touch to artificial intelligence, right? And so with that approach that you're talking about, and however that approach leads you into the future, whether it be more podcast interviews or novels, books, whatever the case, that, speaking engagements, I think that framework is going to help us as a society, help employees continue to get more jobs or different types of jobs because I feel like you said earlier, you little slight shade. Yes, I did.
It
I
was not
did.
shade, Morgan, not shade at all.
It was shady. I feel like when I first started out, I was like very into technology. Like as a little 13-year-old, running my own little newsletter, talking about pop culture and quoting Britney Spears
Yeah,
lyrics back in
see?
the day. Yes, I did. Easy. Yes, I did, girl. And I would send it out on my little uh, family desktop, and I knew how to do that mail link click to send you over it and have you take a survey. How computers were for us, how phones were for maybe what Gen Z. Now this AI is going to be that next little step into moving forward, and we got to remember to use it as a tool, not be like, and it does the things. Bye. You know what I mean? I think that's a helpful approach. But also, I will say, and this is just funny, as a new mom, a baby's cries are very like 3 to 6 months, or that first 3 to 6 months, they're all kind of similar in sound. I learned this, like, it might not sound exactly, but it's like it's a similar type of vibe. I learned this off of watching an Oprah clip on YouTube. But my daughter's cry when she just is at her last wits, she'll just go, AI, AI, AI. And so I get a little triggered when people talk about AI a lot. So I'm hoping this conversation, now that I've stopped nursing, I'm hoping this conversation is not going to hurt my chest anymore. I'd be up in a meeting and at when I was at work, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we need to use this AI tool." And I'm like,
Well,
so
I'll
hopefully,
trigger
um,
too. That's
uh,
a baby's cry. Oh my God.
it's yeah. I mean, she doesn't make that. She doesn't make that. Ooh, she doesn't make that cry that much anymore, unless she's just really at her wits' end. But at times, it is very triggering when I hear it. I'm like, oh my God, my chest. So yeah, that's just a funny anecdote about what I'm saying about how I think it's all going to kind of flow this conversation. Hopefully afterwards my boobs will feel fine because I haven't nursed in 2 months. But more to see. I know that's TMI, but listeners, y'all might get it. We talked about um, breastfeeding a lot. Okay, so as I was actually in middle of recording, I realized I was doing my listeners a disservice. So now we're just gonna go back to the basics and play. So let's back up. I think I'm doing a disservice to my listeners and my viewers here.
But I think the first thing that we want to do is to describe what AI is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, generative AI, most of you have probably heard of Chat GPT. Chat GPT came out in 2022, and it's really a machine that learns off of previous actions or previous knowledge, right? So, think of a machine that has literally scored the internet and read through hundreds of thousands upon billions of different data. And data could look like articles, it could be videos, it could be audio. It is synthesizing all of this information. And when you ask a question, it is essentially predicting what it wants you to know. So if I say peanut butter, you say,
I say jelly.
yep. So most people, it's predictive, right? So it's going to try to predict what it thinks that you want over time. And generative AI is not just limited to text. So I always tell people it's speak, see, learn, and do. So AI could be video outputs, it could be audio, it could be written word, it could be code. There is a multitude of things that can be created using generative AI. And so really AI is just an assistant. It's just a fancy way of saying a virtual assistant, right? So this is a literal assistant that will train off of specific data and give you what it is that you're looking for. So for me, whether that's finding a recipe, whether that's trying to lower my bill, it is going to serve as an assistant to help me get whatever outcome that I'm looking for, which for me is always going to try to be a positive outcome.
As it comes to personal use for AI, I know your philosophy, and I feel like this is gonna flow into it real smooth, right? Because, well, I mean, you were using it for a business person, and I remember when you came to me. I don't remember what year it was. I want to say it was like 16, 18, maybe. Do you remember what year? You was like, "Hey, because you were marketing, I'm about to put you on." You remember this?
No.
You did,
But
and you
I
sent
don't
me
doubt
the,
that I said that. That sounds like something I would say.
and I looked at it, and I was like, over my head, but let me come back. And then when I finally came back to it, I was like, I think I was on a Chrome, not a Mac, and I was like a Chromebook, and I was thinking, ooh, is this gonna jack up this little laptop?
Yes.
Uh, and I was like, I don't know, this little laptop, I don't know. I don't know if I trust it. And so I didn't even fool with it. But then as I kept watching your content, I was like, oh, let me tap in, let me tap in, let me see what this is about. And I tapped in. And a lot of my initial stuff was just for personal use, right? Like, listeners, by the time you hear this podcast, there'll be a blog post about how I planned my trip to Costa Rica strictly using artificial intelligence. So I'm curious, how do you use, just in a general sense, and then we can get a little deeper, AI for personal use?
How do I use AI just personally?
Mm-hmm.
Girl, it's like hot sauce. I use it for everything, like literally. The simplest things. It's actually embarrassing. And I'm not addictive, but one of the things that I've learned early on, and I learned this when I was writing my first book, I was curious about the amount of decisions that people have to make. Do you know the number of decisions that we have to make every single day?
I'm pretty sure it's in the hundreds of thousands, maybe.
We make 35,000 decisions
Okay,
every
okay.
single day.
All right.
And as women, especially if you are a caretaker, if you are, somebody's mama, even if you're someone's spouse, I feel like some of that doubles in a way, or some of that is a lot of those decisions are attributed to other people. And so for me, what I've learned about myself personally is that I get overwhelmed very easily when I have to make a lot of decisions. And it didn't always happen this way. I think a combination of becoming a business owner and then also becoming a leader of an organization just kind of exposed how just kind of fatigued I get with decisions. And, in therapy, I learned that if you want to make a decision, you have to start to listen to your body. Like, what is your body telling you about something in a moment? So, my body became a really great indicator of when I was stressed or overwhelmed. And for me, I always tell people that AI is really a regulator of my nervous system. It really
Mm,
helps me think through things that I might overthink, whether it's a difficult conversation. I had a conflict with someone a couple of weeks ago with a friend, and AI helped me get my thoughts out. So instead of me being a crash out, I had to say, okay, let me check my words and let me be intentional about how I shape certain words, right? It gave me suggestions. I ended up ultimately writing what I wanted, but it almost served as a mirror for me to see how
mm-hmm.
my communication can be perceived, right? That's one way I've been able to use it. I've been able to use it to reduce bills, right? Like, I'm looking at my electric bill and I'm like, dang, why is my electric bill, almost $250? But it's
Yeah,
like, hey,
dang.
you didn't update your energy supplier. Your contract expired with one and you didn't update the energy supplier. And if you switch back to your original energy supplier, you would save X amount of money based on your current bill. I'm like, oh wow, like that is amazing. There's been instances where I've taken pictures of food that I've had in my house to say, man, this is all I have right now. I don't feel like buying any new food. What can I make? What kind of meal can I create based on the items that I already have in my house? And if I need to get something, what do I need to buy for less than $20? Those are the types of decisions that would take me time to make. And now it's very instant. I mean, and even for myself as a business owner, I'll give an example. The other day, I had to send in a proposal. It was a really important proposal. And I probably sat on it for about a day because it was nerves. Like, I still get nervous when I send out proposals and, when I think about pricing and how people are going to perceive what I want to create. But I'm like, girl, use your tools, use your resources. So, I
Mm-hmm.
get on my AI, I talk through, hey, this is what the client wants. This is what I want to do. What are the industry prices? Like, where do I need to fall? And by the time I was finished writing that proposal with the assistance of AI, I had a lot of my anxiety removed, right? If I had just started to do that by myself, it probably would have taken me a couple of days. I would have taken even longer
Jeez.
because of the anxiety and just the overwhelm you feel when you have to make a decision. Because I think a lot of times, especially as women, we just want to be right. We want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And sometimes you have to let go of that type of control. But at the very minimum, AI really helps you think through as a thought partner and can really help you not overthink. I talked to you a little bit earlier about a stat about 33% of women have actually adopted AI. So men are adopting AI at faster rates. And I see that in the trainings that I do, webinars, I'll meet people who are like, "Hey, I'm scared this is going to take my job," or "Hey, like this doesn't feel authentic to me. I feel like I'm cheating because I'm using these tools." But the reality is the world is going to keep going whether we use these tools or not. And I think at the base level, we should all have a minimum understanding of how they work. At least, if you're not going to use it for your personal life, make sure that you're equipped for your working life or your career, whether you're a business owner or, someone who's climbing that career ladder.
For sure. And as we're kind of moving into women, it's interesting you say that because at my previous job, back when I came back from maternity leave, which is why that whole AI chess thing was happening, because they were really talking about it. Now, I was personally using Grammarly to help because that was like an approved tool I can use at work. I mean, I couldn't use like Gemini, we couldn't even pull Google up like that. So I was like, oh, I'll use Grammarly and they can kind of help me draft a couple of posts or options for posts. And that was my way around not being able to use like Copilot at that time or whatever. But it seems like more older generation is scared to adapt to it. Where
Hmm.
our younger generation is like, oh, you get me access? Cool. Thank you. I'm gonna do what I need to do on here so I can move my day more swiftly. But thinking about women specifically, and when we're thinking about how personally we may use it, you had basically mentioned how you're getting your mental load off by just talking to your homegirl. Um, do you have a name for your AI that you
You
use?
know, I'm so weird about it. I go back and forth. Like, I know people give it different names. I'm trying not to give it a name because I don't want to
Mhm.
feel like it's a person. Like I
Right.
know that it can help me, but I don't want to confuse it for a person. Like if you look at the data, like the Harvard Business Review came out with a study earlier this year, and can you guess what the top three use cases are for AI? Like how people use them? Like what do you think they are?
Well, I feel like when you was talking about that critical conversation, that's got to be high up. And then probably work stuff, right? And then maybe I would say like romantic.
So the top three use cases, people are using it for therapy. People are trying
Okay.
to find.
Critical conversations.
Yep. They're trying to use it to find their purpose and they're trying to use it to organize their life.
Okay.
So, given that, I want to be careful about how I interact with AI because there's such an over reliance on it. I remember I spoke with someone, they're like, oh my God, it just gets me. Like, I don't even go to therapy anymore. I just talk to my AI. And I'm like, whoa, like,
Whoa.
like it's good, but it ain't that good. And,
That
and when I
good.
started to hear that, because I would hear that from multiple people, like, because I'm putting all my friends on, I'm telling my friends to use it, and they're like, oh my gosh, it gets me, it knows me. And so I did deeper research, and AI is very similar to social media. When we listen to AI, it's on a feedback loop. So
Hmm.
essentially, when we take an action on social media, so or go even deeper. Let's not even use just social media. Let's just say we take an action on Spotify. We all listen to music. When you skip a song, you're telling the algorithm what you want to hear. So it's going to feed you more of what you want to hear. Same thing, I mean, with social, if you have a piece of content that does extremely well, it's going to essentially give you an indicator of what type of content that you need to put out there to perform, right? And so those feedback loops can be scary because they put people in a cycle of being validated and affirmed. Like, well, my AI said, and trust me, I get those conversations. Well, my chat GPT told me I wasn't wrong, or etc. I had mentioned a situation to you earlier about a conflict that I had with a friend. I said, chat, please make sure that you're telling me the blind sides of my communication. Where am I going wrong in this communication? I am asking the technology to serve as devil's advocate because I don't want it to agree with everything that I say because I'm not always
No.
right. But you have to have that level of self-awareness to understand how to even ask those questions. So to answer your question, no, I'm probably not going to give it a name because I don't want
I
to
don't
become
blame you.
overly dependent.
I don't blame you. I just call her Gemini.
Yeah, I mean it's chat. Like, hey chat. Like when
Yeah,
I talk to her, hey chat. Like
yeah,
I'll
it's
say
Gemini. She got a voice like she my homegirl, but
that.
every I think once the internet drifts, I don't know why she sounds like she's my homegirl. I feel a little some type of way about that, but we move along. But
Yeah.
when we're thinking about personal use and the mental load that we have, um, like as a mom, you're right. So you had mentioned the stats were saying that just helping you organize your life. That is the bulk of how I use Gemini, right? I holler at her, like I had mentioned about traveling the trip and everything like that, but like on a day to day, like recipe, planning, or just simple kind of tasks. I'm like, okay, help me organize my day. I got XYZ to do, that kind of stuff. Have you like do you have any specific use case of how you're juggling your day-to-day life that maybe can help busy moms or busy wives?
I can give a couple of different examples as you were talking, because you're a mother, so I haven't had any children yet. That's in the cards, hopefully in the
We
future.
speak it.
We speak it. But, in the last year, I did have an opportunity to be a bonus mom to my boyfriend's son. So he came to live with us for about a year and he's 14. And, there were things that I didn't know because, I have no prior experience being a mother. I mean, I've been an auntie, but that's different. Like you get the
Mm-hmm.
kids for a couple hours and you give them back. Like this was a different situation. I couldn't give him back. Like I had to learn how to, nurture him and just to understand him. And so, like, there were many instances where I used AI to really try to get an understanding of how to communicate with him or how to approach certain subjects, or even, if there were situations at school talking to teachers, like the best way to approach a teacher without being offensive. Like that was a part of my regular workflow because, this was the first time that we had a 14-year-old come and stay with us and to learn and how to communicate. Now, when it comes to like my regular routine, I think that one of the key core things to do is to figure out how to set up automation. So I'll give an example of a few automations that I have set up. I use a tool called NHN. So NHN is a AI agent where you can build agents to do particular things. And y'all don't feel like you got to run out and figure out what agents are because that's kind of like next level if you haven't accomplished the basics. But agents are really autonomous and they can work on your behalf. So I have an agent that every morning it reads all of my previous emails and it gives me a list of to-dos of actions of things that I did not respond to. My inbox is regularly cluttered and of course it adds to my anxiety as we discussed before. And so
Mm-hmm.
that type of report or daily digest helps me focus on what I need to respond to in the moment. I'm a content creator and I haven't done it as of late. I still get the notifications, but at one point in time I was producing a video every day. And sometimes you have the willingness to produce, but you don't have the ideas to go with it. So every day at 7 o'clock, I get a video idea of what I need to talk about based on my built from the inside framework. So I have a ton of different ideas. So when I'm ready to pick that back up, it's already there and it prompts me every single day. I think some of the other pieces that I've used it, like when Chat GPT, they came out with a feature called Tasks. So there was a Chat GPT reminder of every day. It basically gave me the latest AI news. So if I wanted to stay up to date with what was happening in the industry, it would take the top headlines, and that's where I would figure out where to focus my attention of what I wanted to deep dive into. Because when you start getting into it, there's so much information that comes at you and you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't even know where to start. And so that was a way of keeping me grounded and keeping me focused on the things that mattered to me the most based on what my personal philosophies were. So, those are just kind of some of the, I guess, kind of some of the regular things that I do. I mean, in business, I have a lot more examples. Like, for example, as a business owner, I do something like a profit and loss statement where I see how much money I made every month. And so I use AI to compare and analyze what services sold the most and where my shortfalls were so I can know basically how to predict my revenue for the next year.
And are these like, let's see, what's the word? Like agents, I guess. Are these like custom, or are these ones that you can find within ChatGPT? The kind of some of the ones you're
Um,
talking about.
so that's a layered question. So okay.
Okay, sorry.
So but that's okay. We can break it down now. So so within chat and I'm using Chat GPT. So just know that you all don't have to stick with Chat GPT. There are multiple large language models that you can use. There's Chat, there's Gemini, there's Grok, there's Perplexity. I mean, there's a ton that you can use, but I use Chat because it's the most common and to me it's the most accessible. And
Hmm.
they're usually the ones that have the most features. But Gemini's kind of getting up there though. They're kind of being better with Chat GPT on the creative side. But for most
She
regular
is.
chat works. So you have regular Chat GPT. And when you use regular Chat GPT, one piece of advice that I want to share is before you even start, head to your settings, and there's a section that says data controls. And there's something inside of Chat GPT that says improve the model for everyone. You always want to make sure that is turned off
Off.
because you don't want them to train on your data. I don't know what kind of data you're putting in. You might talk about your kids' allergies. You might talk about things that, are sensitive about your marriage. And not to say that they're just going to leak it, but you don't want the data to be trained on your personal preferences, right? So turn that off. Under the same settings, there's a setting called personalization. You want to make sure that your memory is on. So when you have conversations with ChatGPT, it can recall all of your conversations and you don't have to repeat yourself like a broken record. So in general, ChatGPT is a call and response. You type something in and it's going to give you an output. You can get even deeper with that. So there are a couple of core features within ChatGPT. So one of them that I love to use is something called a custom GPT. So
That's the word I was looking for.
yeah, inside of Gemini, they're called gems, but in
Hmm.
Chat GPT, they're called custom GPTs. And a custom GPT is your own personal AI that you train. So you put in your data and you put in your custom instructions of what you want it to do. So let's say, I don't know, and I'm just going to try to give an example for your audience. Let's say you have someone who is a mother and maybe your child has specific food preferences and only certain things that they can eat. So you
Hmm.
can train your GPT to say, hey, these are the dietary restrictions that my kids have. These are their allergies. And I want to create a custom GPT that comes up with recipes that avoids these things every single time. And here are
Hmm.
examples of past recipes that we use that my son or daughter really loves. So you can go to this GPT and the GPT will be set to those particular preferences and it will come up with those recipes every single time that follows whatever criteria that you set. So
And then
that's
when you pull up on that bot, that's kind of what you mean. Okay.
so
For
that's
lack of a better word.
yep. So basically it's like a custom bot that you train based on your data. The difference is Chat GPT scores the internet for all data points, right? A
Hmm.
custom GPT, you can say, I only want you to focus on these documents to come up with your answer, and it's going to give you that.
And assuming that's within a paid plan.
Yes, that's within the paid plan. Free users can use GPT, so there are GPTs that are available. Think of it like your Apple Store, where
Hmm.
when Apple popped out with their store, everybody popped up with all these apps, and you can do these third-party
Hmm.
apps. You can do the same thing with GPTs. There are a lot of third-party people who make it available for public consumption and use. Um, the third piece, kind of the new part of this AI evolution within ChatGPT, are agents. So an agent is literally a tool where you can say, "Hey, I want you to book a flight for me and my family of four to go to Costa Rica." And the flight should be under, I don't know, the flight should be under $2,000. You should avoid Spirit or what's the other one that elder people try to dog? What's
Is
the
it
other?
United or American or something?
I don't know. One of them,
Southwest?
the ones where it's cheap. I can't remember. Like maybe you want to avoid the cheap airlines and you want to go with Delta or American Airlines, whatever, right? So you can give your agent these preferences, click a button, and the agent will go out on the internet on your behalf, find tickets, and it'll come back and say, "Hey, Morgan, I found tickets for your family. Can you please log into this website and I will finish your transaction?" and it will finish the entire transaction for you and book that trip. And you can say, hey, now that we're booked to Costa Rica, we need an itinerary. These are my husband's preferences. This is my kids' preferences. These are my preferences. We're going to be there from this date to this date. Find us activities that, fit our particular preferences. And it will create an entire agenda with addresses and contact numbers. And it will even ask you, hey, do you want me to book these excursions for you? So that's agents.
Okay. So we've got custom bots that's on a paid plan. We've got the bots that are like apps that you can use if you're a free user. And then you're talking about these like agents that can really do some work.
Mhm.
Okay, so I understand. So there are layers. I see what you meant by the layers.
It's levels to it.
When you were talking, I was like, now, is this something you built? Is this something that was, I guess, third party, like you said, or is this like an agent? So is it a combination of the
It's a
three?
combination of things. So if we're talking within Chat GPT specifically, the custom GPTs or the bots as you call them, you can build them yourself if you have the paid plan. If you don't have the paid plan and you have the free version, you can access GPTs built by others. The
Mm-hmm.
agents, I believe both the free and paid versions have it. The free version may have a limited amount of
That you
agent
can do.
usage that
Mm-hmm.
you can actually do, but the agents are built within Chat GPT. Now, the one that I shared with you earlier about the email summary, that's like I built that. Like I built that
Yeah.
through
I was gonna
NHN.
say you had to have built that. I'm like,
No,
you.
no, that was built. And it sounds crazy. It's not as complicated as you might think it is, but
Huh.
I was able to build that. So again, there's different levels to it. Like somebody like me, even though I use ChatGPT every day, there are certain tasks that I need that surpass what I'm able to do inside of that platform. So you have to seek external platforms to get the automation that you need. Like that's the part that's really missing with ChatGPT. There's not a lot of automation yet. But I feel like that's what's coming next.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of, and I can't remember like the tool names, but I've seen a lot of like automation that even with processing to help kind of that'll integrate, kind of like what I imagine with those third party apps would be, where you're able to like even how we're
Yeah, like
doing
you can
like
do that
how.
a lot. I mean, like you can do that with the NHN. There's tools called like Zapier and Make.com where
There you
you
go.
integrate Chat GPT, but Chat GPT doesn't like allow you to just do it within their platform. You have to access it through a third party.
Gotcha. Okay, we're getting real heavy on the personal use. I know this is Young Black Misses. People listen to this because they're listening about weddings and want to know the tea about being married and stuff. You had mentioned you had a little hack about marriage planning, well, before we got on our call. Do you care to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think these tools can be really effective. I mean, whether you're trying to figure out, okay, what does my dream dress look like? I mean, you can use literally Gemini or Chat GPT to come up with mock-ups for the type of dress that you want to use, especially if you're getting something prepared or created. You can design your ideal bridesmaid dress, your ideal wedding dress, and you can take that to a designer and say, "Hey, this is what I want to get," right? I mean, even when it comes to researching venues, if you have a certain dollar amount that you don't want to exceed, you can put in those criteria to say, hey, there's another tool within chat called deep research. You can use deep research to find the wedding venues that match whatever you and your husband's
I love
criteria.
that on Gemini.
Yep. You can find those things, right? Same thing with caterers. If you want to do deep research on what people are saying about local wedding vendor caterers, instead of you going through all those reviews on Google, it can populate and synthesize all of that information for you. If you want to go even further, let's say you have someone who wants you to sign a prenuptial agreement and maybe you don't have a lawyer. You can tell Chat GPT to redline this prenuptial agreement and see what are the red flags that may not protect you in the outcome, right? So you really can use these tools kind of like out of the box, right? Like I met a woman, and of course I don't want anybody to get divorced, but like I met a woman at Cincy's what was it? Cincy AI week, and she talked about a story about how she used AI to escape a marriage and literally beat a case. Like she had like a domestic violence case and she was getting divorced, and AI helped her through that process and tell her everything that she needed to do step by step to get her and her children out of a bad situation.
Mm.
So, I just think it's really important for us to kind of think outside of the box. Like anything that you think that it can't do, just ask it. And when you're in doubt, like, hey, can you do XYZ? It'll tell you, like, yeah, I can do this, or yeah, I can do this for you. So just ask, like be curious enough to figure out what it can do, because chances are there are things that you're stressing about that it can help alleviate.
Yeah, like you came at me yesterday when I sent you that picture of my Halloween mock-up. I thought it was very cute.
I
Okay,
thought it
so
was
I asked,
funny because it was random. Like I laughed because it was random, not because it wasn't cute. It was just random.
I talked to you about AI. Okay, so this is what happened, listeners. All right, so I'm trying to get my Halloween outfit together for me and my daughter, and she really likes milk. That's like her favorite word to say. Milk is how she'll say it. And so I'm like, I love matcha. So I'm like, I want to be matcha, and she could be my oat milk because she a little plant-based baby. And the mock-up was I let AI and I was gonna ask you about the prompting in a second here. I'm pretty specific, like I know there's probably some themes or probably some cutesy little letters that explain how to, what's that word? Like letters that explain how to use that help you remember. But I just try to be as like detailed as possible, but also explain like what I look like if I want a picture that looks like me. So I was
Mhm.
like, we are both Black women with caramel skin or peanut butter skin or whatever, XYZ. Like I'm looking at this type of outfit, blah, blah, blah. And it spits out this cute little picture of this darker Black woman, and she looked older, but the way they got my daughter looking right. And you just LOL'd at it. But okay. But that's like a use case, like a mental. Because at first I was getting on Pinterest trying to find something. I'm like, screw it, let me just have her do it. Or not her,
And
they
you
do
can.
it.
And if you wanted to take that a step further, I mean, it just depends on how you feel about putting like your personal pictures in AI platforms. But if you did, you literally can use Nano Banana to have like you guys' picture and the picture of the costume, and tell chat to put you guys in the actual costume. So it's just up to how you feel about privacy and all that. But I mean, it's possible. It's definitely possible to put those things together. But I laugh because I just thought it was random. I'm like, I've
Oh,
never seen a kid dress up for milk as Halloween.
hey, boo. This conversation was lengthy. I mean, that's my girl. We can talk. So I'm gonna break this up, and we'll see you with part two of AI, and we'll see if my boobs can make it. As always, thank you so much for listening. If you're listening to this podcast and on Spotify, please leave a comment. I believe you can leave comments on Spotify. Am I bugging? If you're watching on YouTube, please leave a comment and 5 stars on my Apple. For the people that are listening as soon as this drops, thank you. For the people that are watching as soon as this drops, thank you. Y'all want something from the store? Like, quick trip around the corner from me, I can get you something. Y'all the real ones. Should share with a friend. And if you gain some value from it, my DMs are DMing. You can follow me at Young Black Misses on the U of the Tube, of course, Instagram, and the Tick of the Talk. And until next time,